Good afternoon. Happy Black Friday. What's going on? It's your man, Rod Hickman, Generational Wealth Builders, where poverty ends with us. Listen, super excited to be coming to you on this Black Friday because I know some of y'all going to need my help right now. Why? Because a lot of y'all went out there and done spent up so much money, and some of y'all probably done caught some cases trying to get them PlayStations or them Legos or whatever it is that you was out there trying to get, right? I hope you ain't catching no case out there. Please don't tell me you caught no case. But either way, super excited to be coming to you on this Friday. I hope that your Thanksgiving was wonderful. Mine was. It was completely a day of rest. And I thank God for that because that's what I needed. I needed a whole day of rest. Well, listen, we're coming to you today here from Generational Wealth Builders headquarters here in the metropolitan city of Covington. And we have a great show for y'all today. I'm not going to be the only one on here talking, but we have some phenomenal people that are going to actually join the call with us today and be here with us to talk a little bit about a book that I read that really helped me. It helped me overcome distractions. It helped me focus more on myself. And I want to talk a little bit about that today because, again, today what we're talking about is how people buy you, right? People buy you. And that book is by Jeb Blount. But first of all, let me go ahead on and introduce my first guest today. My first guest today is somebody who, they're all right sometimes, right? But again, this individual here, I am super duper proud of. I could go into a long diatribe of why, but I am super proud because this person has recently made a decision that she wanted to push herself to be the very best that she could be. She wanted to push herself and give herself the opportunity to see if she could actually go to the next level, of which I knew she could. But it was just the fact that she wanted to do it. And so this woman, I just have to say, I love her beyond words. Words really don't have the weight to say how much I love her. And like I say, I'm just godly proud of her. Let me bring to the call right now my wife, Lady Christy Hickman. Love, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello,
All right.
everyone.
All right. So glad to have you on the call. So talk to me a little bit, or talk to us a little bit about what major move you just made.
Okay, so I recently decided to do this business alongside my husband 100%. So I am a full-time entrepreneur. Super excited, super nervous as always, but I believe it's going to be great.
Wonderful. I know you're going to do extremely well, without a doubt. And I can't wait to hear more from you in the call. And we also have another guest with us today. And this individual is a good friend of mine. And all all real brothers, I'm gonna say it like this here. Real brothers don't have a whole lot of people that they call friends. Real brothers don't have a whole lot of people that they reach out to on the regular. You know, we could interact in the streets, we could do this, that, and the other, but it's not a lot of people that you can call and talk to and chop it up with, and actually call friend. Well, I call this man friend. Um, One of God's greatest preachers, one of God's most gifted preachers, an entrepreneur par excellence, and now he is a business partner with Generational Wealth Builders. And I couldn't be more excited to introduce to everybody the Torrent Miller. God bless, preacher. How you doing, man?
All is well, Pastor. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Look, we're so excited to have you here. So, won't you tell everybody what's been going on with you here recently, man?
Well, recently I decided to get my insurance license, and it was basically because when I saw the education of how not only can insurance protect and cover you, but it can also open doors to prosperity as well, helping generations to come and things of that nature, helping you with your retirement and all things financial if you do it the right way. So once I got that education for myself, I decided that I wanted to share it with other people so that they can be protected and that they can have the doorway to prosperity.
Exactly right, man. Well, listen, when I tell you we're godly proud to have you here with us, because you could have went anywhere, but praise be to God, you came here and partnered with us here at Generational Wealth Buildings. We're super excited again for you and for what you're going to do here in as you work with us again. So let's get into it, right? People by You. That's a book that I read, and that book was so instrumental because it's not so much about the fact of people by you. And if you're like me, when I heard the title, automatically my mind went to something else. Like, well, ain't nobody got to buy me. I am who I am. You take me as I am. That's kind of how I roll. But when I read this book, I saw that it had a lot more content to it. And so, with that being said, when I think about the book People by You, I was sharing this with the team there the other night in Memphis during our pregame. And so the question is, the book says people by you, but I asked the question to the team, and I kind of want to put it out here today on this chat. Would you buy you? Would you buy you? And what am I talking about? Now, I'm not talking about you don't love yourself or nothing like that. Don't get me wrong. That's not where I'm going with that. But Pastor Miller, and I'll let you take first swing at this. Here we are. Everybody in Watch Meet service was there. 2023 is great, right? I forgot they were saying 2023, the year to be free, or something like that, right? Again, we get all these goofy sayings that we bring, and I believe we do it from a good space. But it's always important to go back and look to see how you're actually faring with 2023. Because right now, we're less than 50 days away from 2024. And so when people look at 2023 and what they've done this far, what do you think about that? What do you think of it? I don't want to talk to you. What do you think about
that? Well, I think, of course, you have to judge yourself by what you've done, but also you have to look at the vision that's ahead. Like you said, we are about 50 days away from a new year. So you shouldn't wait until the new year starts to start planning for success. You got to start planning for success now. That means you got to have vision right now. And you were saying how people had so many funny sayings for 2023. However, those sayings may change according to the season you're in 2023. You may have to change your saying along with the season you're in. So you can't just go by the saying that you started in January. You've got to have a saying for November because your circumstances in November could very well differ from your circumstances in August.
Okay.
So those sayings from last month and the month before don't mean anything if they don't line up with what you're trying to do right now. And that might be why people don't buy you, because the saying that you had earlier this year is not lining up with where you are right
now. Lady Hickman?
I think he said it all already. I always reference Habakkuk, where it talks about write the vision and make it plain that he that read it may run. And I just think that we make lofty goals instead of making small goals to get those small wins. And because we make, you said starting at the beginning of the year, we make those lofty goals, we get off track. We get distracted, life start happening. And because we don't have those really small goals, we end up not accomplishing anything.
Okay.
True.
Yeah. So, and I think that's right. I think what both of you said definitely has weight. But I just wonder, and I guess I'll play devil's advocate today. I just wonder how many people make goals with the intention of making goals to just make goals. but never really being willing to put the work in to actually go to and attain those goals. What do y'all think about that? Do y'all think that happens, first of all, or am I just cynical and jaded?
Me first.
That's fine.
I think
Ladies
some
first.
people just like to some people just like to hear themselves like talk. We say stuff and we have no leg to stand on. Don't even have a starting point with the goals that we have in mind. But I'm reading a book by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's called Be Useful. And a lot of the points that he make in this book, it kind of speaks to our character. And so if you know that you're not good at following through with things, and you know that you're just a sayer and not a doer, sometimes I think we just need to step back and assess ourselves. Deal with the man in the mirror first. And then if it's something that you really, really want to do, you got to strategize. Okay, how can I help me before I make these lofty goals that I'm not going to, accomplish? Like something simple as losing weight. Oh, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year. And you got a cookie addiction. You got a fast food addiction, so you got to do like I said, baby steps. And I don't know. I think we give ourselves a pass a lot. Listening to somebody else this week, Kobe Bryant, how he talks about how he does not negotiate with himself. We always give ourselves a pass. So it's kind of easy for us to fail on those that we do set.
Okay. Pastor Miller.
And I'm going to piggyback off a couple things that Sister Hickman said. So in writing the vision and making it plain, that's the goal. However, if you don't have anyone to run after the goal, and if you're not willing to run after the goal yourself, it doesn't matter if you write it down or not. You've got to be willing to take action, because goals without action are just dreams.
Yep.
They won't have any legs to them if somebody's not willing to take action to do it. And when you start to press towards a goal, it's going to be some friction. It's going to be something restricting you from getting to your goal. And when we talk about goals, we can use any kind of sports you want to. You can use soccer, you can use basketball. There is always an opposing team trying to stop you from getting the ball in the goal.
Right.
But what's really was funny to me, how Sister Hickman brought up Kobe Bryant. If you don't practice putting the ball in the goal when you're on the court by yourself,
That's right.
how can you think that you're going to be able to put it in the goal when you have opposition against you? So you've got to practice on getting to your goal, work on it every day so that you'll know how to achieve your goal.
Exactly right. And I think both of that I think what y'all saying is so powerful. Because again, like I say, and here's the thing, anytime I'm talking, I'm never talking from a place of looking down. I think I know the reason why I wanted to have this conversation today was because yesterday, like I told you, I did nothing. My wife can verify. I did nothing. I didn't even get out the bed. I mean, apart from bio breaks, I did not get out the bed. Why am I saying that? Then I started playing on my PlayStation. And I went back. And a lot of people don't know this part of the story when it comes to generational wealth building. But when I first getting started and stuff like that, I got discouraged. Because I'm like, man, I'm out here trying to tell these people, I'm trying to show people what's available. People don't want to hear me. Because everybody back then, everybody was like crypto, and then everybody was trying to do them little sheets. Pastor, you remember them sheets when folk was like, "Hey, look at here, I got that $100 sheet, and you get this sheet, then you go recruit 2 folk." And you remember all that,
right?
I'm quite sure that Tide book got touched during that time, didn't it? But either way,
exactly.
Either way, the reason why I say that is I remember getting discouraged. And when I got discouraged, Man, I said, forget this. I'm like, my family's doing pretty good. We good. I make good money, this, that, and the other. I'm like, I would come home and I would get on my PlayStation. And at that point in time, man, I was playing that Grand Theft Auto. Bro, you could have told me I lived in San Andreas, bro. I mean, I knew all the streets and everything, bro. And I say that to say because I remember one day I literally got angry because they have the little thing called heist on there. And with the heist, you're able to work with other people to go and do jobs and stuff like that, rob banks and all that. And I remember, Pastor Miller, that I couldn't find no one to run the heist with me. I couldn't find nobody. And I got mad. I'm not talking about like, man, all right. I'm talking about I got angry. And I remember thinking, and I heard a voice say, how you gonna be mad about a game and you got a whole business that you're not doing? And I was like, you're right. And it was at that point in time I realized that I had gotten distracted from my vision, right? My vision has nothing to do with whether or not people accept it or not. That's not it. My whole reason for starting this was, as you said earlier, to educate people on these products and services. And when I realized that sometimes, people listen and sometimes people won't. But as long as I do my part, I feel all right. And so I know I said a lot right there, but I do want to get your opinion on that, man. That distraction came in just like that. That distraction that I was basically saying that because people are rejecting what I'm saying, I can just throw my hands up. And I lost time. I lost about 3 months of time where I could have been much further in the business. And so I guess I want to know, man, talk to me. Have you had a time like that where maybe distraction set in and it caused you not to go forward and do something that you know you were able to do? And how did you get out of it? Let me put that part on there.
Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there is some type of distraction that's going to happen every day, especially when you're trying to focus on something that is important. It's going to happen. And, of course, some distractions are minor, some are major.
Mm-hmm.
The one you dealt with, of course, I would consider that to be a major distraction where you were like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore because of how people are reacting to what I'm doing.
Right.
And of course, that's happened to me when I first started my lawn care service. I only had 1 yard to cut, and that was mine. So, and it seemed like, the business was not growing the way I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to look at testimonies of other small businesses, just like your testimony may have helped somebody today because you got distracted and you didn't want to do it anymore. So what I learned was a lot of small businesses really don't start making any making any revenue until 5 years in. You losing for the first couple of years you're in because you really don't know what you're doing. You think you do,
right,
but you really don't.
Exactly.
And so you have to stay the course to build the business to where it's going to be profitable to you. But during that time, you're going to have distractions because you're going to have breakdowns. You're going to have people quit on you. You're going to have people to turn you down. You're just going to have things that are going to happen. But the way I deal with distractions is I look at the good that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
The way I get my focus off of distractions is I focus on the good.
Okay.
And that's how I've dealt with distraction in the past, and that's how I try to deal with them now. I look at any progress that I made and say, hey, I did something positive today.
Right.
And that's how I've dealt with them in the past.
Okay. Lady Hickman.
I think, as you said, we have different distractions every day. But yes, I have allowed them to set me off course from what it is that I'm trying to do. But I quickly realized that in that moment of being distracted, you're losing so much.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing so much time that you can't get back. People are missing out on the best version of you, is what I got from that. And so what grounds me and what brings me back is, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
I can remember working on a certain job where I was passed up for promotions that I should have gotten because I was already doing the job. Job wasn't offered to me. But they saw me good enough to train me how to do it, but not to give me the proper title and pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I took so much, but I stayed there. And my wife is staying there was my children, my family. And so now coming into being an entrepreneur and doing this on my own, I dare not, draw up or back up on myself, on my own goals and what it is that I'm doing for my family, when I took that several years ago from someone that told me I was only worth so much. And so we have to be careful about the distractions that we allow. Some of the things that you really want to consider is integrity. Do you have it? What does it mean to you? Your word, is your word good? Are you consistent? And some of the other distractions some of them they use, some of them they use it as a crutch, like family problems. We can't let that stop us. Financial situations, we can't let that stop us. And if you're from where I'm from, I was raised in a single family home, so it's like you was born into a recession already. So there is no reason why you should let finance distract you. So I'm gonna leave it alone. But yeah, a lot of distraction. Got to be careful about it.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. For me, I think one of the biggest things that I struggle with is how people say, "I want this great life.
Mm-hmm.
I want this or that." And Dr. Miller brought up a tremendous point. And we say this quite often, that people quit on themselves way too soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many times have that job ticked you off? How many times have that job played you to the left?
Right.
How many times? But how many times do you keep going back to that job? And then you may say, "Well, I didn't go back to that job." Did you go to another job? If you went to another job, it's virtually the same thing. And I think sometimes we get distracted, and in that distraction, we start justifying to ourselves that it's all right to be where we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and again, you all don't have to agree with me on this, but I think there's a certain mindset that begins to form when people start, how do I want to say this? When people start justifying why they don't have to do what it was they were doing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I want to, when people say, "Yeah, I want to go into business for myself," and one of the questions that we ask, okay, why? What is your why? Why do you want to go? Man, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to buy my mama a house. I want to retire my mama. I want to buy my children this. I want my okay, sweet. Listen, you can do all of that here. Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. But it's amazing how so soon after people get started, anything can happen. Somebody can quit on them. Somebody doesn't do an appointment with them, or whatever the case may be. Now all of a sudden, man, see, I knew that this wasn't for me. And I just wonder if we don't really understand how easy distractions are. Do we not really understand that, how easy, or what distraction looks like? Maybe people don't even know what distraction looks like. I don't know.
I mean, for me, it's anything that is knocking you off the course to where you're trying to go to. And it can be people, places, things. It can be family. It can be enemies. It can be so many things until you have to when you're focused in on your destination and your goal, you will start to recognize distractions.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're barely focused, they won't seem like distractions to you. And maybe that's why people don't recognize distractions as much because they're not honed in totally on where they're trying to get to. Just like you were saying, people say, I want to get here and I want to do this and I want to do that. However, any little thing that comes up that seems like fun to, and it can be something fun. It doesn't have to be anything bad. It can be,
Ah,
recreational and it just gets you off course though. But you
that's
don't
right.
see it as a distraction because you're not super focused on what you're trying to do. So I would say that if you're really trying to achieve a goal, if you're really trying to get to a destination, really put your eyes on where you're trying to go and don't let anything keep you away from that goal.
I like what you said there. The lack of focus, and it's amazing. And I've played this little game with myself. Every week my iPhone tells me how much time I spent on my screen, and it tells me whether I spent more or less time. My goal is to consistently have less time on my phone. You get what I'm saying? Than I do on it. Because how many times have you said, well, I'm going to look for something, or I want to read up on something, or I'm looking for something, and then automatically you find yourself, well, let me check Facebook, right? It's almost like it's automatic, right? You wake up in the morning, you cut the alarm clock off. What's the first thing you open up? For most people, it's social media. You get that phone, and now you start scrolling. You ain't even got out of bed, breath hot and everything, and you already scrolling right on that phone. So when it looks to focus, when we talk about focus, that brings in a whole different dynamic, right? Because it's one thing to be distracted, but the opposite of being distracted is focus.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you focus? What is the process of focus? I'm somebody who doesn't know how to focus. How would you both help me to understand and really be able to be challenged to focus on dot, dot, dot?
I would say, first of all, you have to know what it is that you want to do, going back to having that vision. The second question is, and I will ask you, how important is it to you?
Okay.
Because what you give your time and attention to, that's what matters to you the most. And um, we talk about it in Sunday school. I know this is not church, but what matters to you the most is what you're going to do. A lot of people say, hey, my family is, all in all I do, but do you give your family and the time that your family need? Do you give them what they need if they're so important to you? So that's going to really be the biggest part of it. Going back to Kobe, he was talking about on yesterday how much time he committed to his craft, and how it would be 4 a.m. morning, it may be from 4 to 6. He'll take a break and go and do whatever was necessary, but back at 11 o'clock he back on it again. And so if it's that important to you, you're going to give that time and effort to it. The other thing is talking a little bit about entrepreneurship and staying focused. What are your goals? Setting small goals for yourself. Again, we talked about lofty goals, which are fine, and I think you should keep them in front of you to remind you of why you're doing what you're doing. But you need to set small goals to get you to those bigger goals, because it builds consistency. Once you see that you can stay consistent on one or two things, then you can build off that.
Right.
Momentum.
I'll just add one thing to it. I believe sometimes we lose focus because things become out of sight, out of mind to us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to focus on something, write it down somewhere, or put whatever it is that you're trying to do where you have to look at it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you see it every day and you don't do anything about trying to achieve what you're looking at, then it's not important to you. So if you put something, if you have a goal that you're trying to achieve, write it down somewhere where you have to look at it every day. Put it in your car, put it in the notes in your phone, put it on your dashboard, on your mirror in the bathroom, so that you have to look at it every day to remind you this is what I need to focus on.
Mm,
Right. I agree.
yeah.
Something else that I would say is when we work those jobs and we go and hit that clock for someone else, um, sickness was present, family problems were present, finance was jacked up. I mean, you had all that stuff going on, but it didn't stop you from hitting that clock because you knew you had bills that was coming. And I think that that's something major in being an entrepreneur. I can tell you all, we laughed about it a few days ago with somebody else that, I didn't call in because I would use my sick days to go out of town. And so I would go to work sick if I was sick. And so, what are you doing as an entrepreneur? Do you give yourself a pass? I'm not feeling well today. Me and my husband had an argument today, so I'm not gonna make calls and try to connect with people to get my business off the ground. Mama not talking to me, daddy not talking to me, so I'm just gonna take a break and chill. We have to make sure we know that these things are going to happen and they're going to come, but they really should be the fuel to why you continue to do what it is that you're doing to fight towards your dreams and your goals. Arnold Schwarzenegger was talking about how your plan A doesn't need a plan B. Your plan A have to work. And so in order for it to work, you can't have any excuses and you can't give yourself any passes. So I think that's really important.
It's definitely important. So I guess the question is, why do we give ourselves a pass? Why do you think that instead of us keeping our feet to the fire, why is it that we give ourselves a pass? That's really what I want to try to uncover today. Because again, we're talking about people by you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're wanting to know if you would buy you. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And if you would buy you, and again, I'm not talking about from a vain standpoint, but honestly speaking, being objective, would somebody buy you? If I keep letting myself off the hook, let's use it in a product standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was quite interesting. Dell computers in the 90s were part of the ones that outsourced most of their manufacturing overseas, over to Asia. Uh, but what happened, they made a shift around 2008, actually before then, because what was happening was, even though they were making more money because they were shipping their products overseas, they were bringing it back, they were having quality issues. And those quality issues caused Dell to get a bad name. And when they ended up doing a root cause analysis, they found out that because of how much time that product was spending in the containers, the salt air was getting in there or something to that effect, and it was messing up the motherboard. So, with that being said, Dell then pivoted and said, you know what? We're going to bring our manufacturing back to the US. And I'm saying that to say that Dell could have made a decision and said, well, whoever buy us, right? That's what it is. That's who we are. But they made a decision to say, you know what? What we're going to do, we're actually going to change. We're going to change our environment. We're going to change our business model. And we're going to start now pivoting and building in the US. And since that time, they've now become a competitor of sorts back on the computer scene. So the reason why I frame that like that, I guess I want to kind of going back to the people by you and would you by you. The quality matters. And if we keep winking our eye at our failure, are we ever going to get to where it is that we're trying to get to? Have at it.
Well, I would say no, because I think a lot of times the reason why people give themselves a pass is because acceptance of defeat is a lot easier than holding yourself accountable to reach your destiny.
Ooh.
So when accountability is painful, when you have to hold yourself, especially when you have to look in the mirror and say to yourself, you have not done your best. It's painful.
Wow.
But it's much easier to give yourself a pass and say you'll do better next time. But the fact is, the next time may never come around because this may be your only shot, your only window at that particular goal that you have before you. So I just say you have to be willing to go through the pain of accountability.
Man, that's rich there.
Well, he took what I was going to say. We don't want to be held accountable. If you just look back, I mean, back to Moses' days, his measure of not wanting to be accountable was the fact that he didn't speak clear. He had a speech problem. You know what I mean? Something that simple. It's been here forever, but we much rather have that ease. And when you're fighting for your life, and I say fighting for your life because generational wealth builders is tied to our legacy and our last name and who we are and the impact that we're going to make on this community as a whole. I always tell people that, you don't have to be a product of what you come from or where you come from. And you don't have to leave home to be great. A lot of people leave small towns and go to big cities just to be somebody. And I just believe that if you're properly placed and you're extremely focused on what it is that you desire to do, you can be blessed right where you are. Exactly. I believe that the Lord will make you great right where you are. Some of the things you said something about quality issues. We all have them. Our businesses have them, but we as individuals have quality issues. And some of those are some of the reasons why we give ourselves a pass. Do you have integrity? Some people lack integrity. Some people don't have people skills. They don't even try at it, but they think that somebody wants to buy them or their product. Is your word good? I don't want to deal with somebody whose word is not good. And those are some questions as entrepreneurs that we have to ask ourselves because, again, we're talking about people by you. If your word ain't good, I don't want to do business with you. Nobody does. And you're going to fail. Your business is going to fail. How consistent are you with what it is that you're doing? I can tell you that my husband doesn't like social media, but he'll post a live in a minute, and I don't care if it's 0 views on there at the time that he's posting. Good thing about social media, you go back and see how many people went back and view what it is that you put out there. And so consistency matters. And then again, I always say, why are you doing what you're doing? You have to understand that. And so if that's not the number one thing why you're fighting for your last name or why you can't give yourself a pass, then yeah, your business is going to suffer and people won't buy you. If you don't believe in you, nobody else will. I listened to a young lady give advice. Her name is it Viola Davis? She's an actress. And the question was, what would you tell someone in married couples or a young woman looking to be married? And one of the things that she said really stuck out to me. You are your first love. You are your first love. And if you don't love you, it's going to be hard for somebody else to know how to love you. And so I would just bring that into this conversation. If you don't love what you do, if you're not passionate about what you do, if you're not driven behind what it is that you're doing, nobody will buy you.
Yeah, I think that's very, very critical to have that understanding. And I think also we should make the designation to know that this is not just about business, right? It's not just about business. These principles that we're referring to actually are universal, right?
Yeah.
Because whether or not you ever own a business or not, you still have to be present. I'm not sure what that noise is, but yeah. You still have to be present. You still have to show up. You still have to um, be there. You still have to invest in yourself. So
Mhm.
again, whether you're a business owner or whether you're just an individual, you still have to show up for you. Because again, people are going to buy you. Your children are going to buy you. What are they getting? Your loved ones, your siblings, everybody that is around you has the opportunity to buy you. You get what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times we've cheapened the word hater. We now call somebody a hater that wants to hold us accountable. And I want to know why I have to be a hater, because I know you can do better. You get what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
know greater is in you. I know that you're much better where you are right now. And I don't want to see you there. I challenge you to be better. Like, for example, I love it when people tell me, well, I don't have time. Okay.
Okay.
And then when I talk to them and I'm listening to them, I find that a lot of the times, if I ask them about a game, if I say, hey man, tell me about the Dallas game, or tell me about this, or tell me about that, man, these folk can tell me everything about everything. But as soon as you say, uh, hey man, won't you read this book on how to get better? Read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Man, ain't nobody got no time to be reading no books. Man, this, that, and no, I got this, that, and the third. But yet and still now, again, here we go again. On a Saturday, you'll sit in front of the TV all day and watch every game. Just so you can go back to work on Monday and talk about what happened on the game. So I get the fact that situations have a tendency to drive us to be who we are or be the way that we are. But I also understand, and as Pastor Miller said earlier, it's about that accountability. We've got to know that we're better than a lot of times what we do. We're much better than that, but we get comfortable in our situation. We get comfortable in our circles. And just because somebody else will co-sign with me about how me being comfortable will stay right there. So I guess the question, and I'll start with you, Pastor Miller, how do you get away from those people that are so comfortable that they're not going to challenge themselves? How do you do that?
You said, how do you get away from people who aren't going to challenge you?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's a process. First of all, of course, you have to identify people who have, traditionally made you feel comfortable with where you are. So once you identify those people, then you seek to meet people who have higher goals for their life, and you move into those circles gradually, and then you make connections with other people, and first of all, well, I guess you have to first of all check yourself, because you have to know that where I am is not where I want to be, and that the people that I've been in circles with don't seem to be moving from where they are. So I want to connect with somebody who's moving to a higher level. And that takes a level of humility, because sometimes we don't want to connect with people who have to teach us or mentor us to be where they are, because we feel like that's belittling to us, that we've got to learn something new. So we have to get out of that mindset of I'm comfortable with being the smartest person in my circle, and move into circles where people can mentor you and train you to be better.
That's rich. So why do you feel that someone would feel as if that's disrespectful? Help me understand. Unpack that for me, if you don't
I
mind.
mean, well,
I mean, I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. I think it is. But I
I would
really
say
just don't
with men, especially men. Hope I don't seem biased. Sometimes we have a egotistical view of things, as far as, especially when you're alpha male and you have to learn something from another alpha male, because a lot of times we like to pretend like we know how to do stuff
exactly
even when we don't know how to do it. We
right.
try to put stuff together without reading the directions.
Every
And
time.
when somebody else has already read the directions and put together what we're trying to put together, it doesn't mean that they think they're better than we are. It just means that we don't have to make the same mistakes they made, because they can tell us, hey man, if you do this right here, this is a shortcut and it'll work for you. But sometimes we just want to try to do it all on our own. But we need a circle of strong people, people who, you may know more in one area than the other person knows, but you've
Right.
got to surround yourself with people who know more than you in different areas, and that way you can grow.
Man, that's powerful. That's powerful. 100% agree. Lady Hickman, we're gonna hear from you, and then we're gonna get ready to wrap this on up.
So there's a quote that says, "You are the average of the 5 people that you that you surround yourself with the most."
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor Miller already shared it, but I have always been taught to surround myself with people that are much wiser than I am, people that are doing better than I am, and people that I don't mind being challenged by. And so, for me, I have a spiritual mentor, and she's 76 years old. And I wouldn't mind humbling myself to hear what she has to say, because she has experience,
Mm-hmm.
and she has wisdom. And I have a business mentor, and I don't mind humbling myself to hear what she has to say, because she's done the things that I'm trying to do. So I can't let pride get between me and my goals. And the moment that we do that, we have an issue on our hand. And I know I've said Kobe's name probably 1,000 times, but I've been listening to him this week, as one of the people, that, again, I'm stretching my mindset, reading books, and just, taking in things from a business perspective. And as people were reflecting over his life, they talked about how, he made personal phone calls to Jordan asking about his game.
Yep.
Why not learn from the best?
Exactly.
Because you're trying to get there. And now he goes down in history as one of the greatest. Why? Because he didn't think it anything to humble himself and place a phone call and say, "Hey man, what do you work on the most? Hey, what can I work on?" And I think society, um, social media, they have us fooled that when we try to glean from somebody else, or when somebody else even tries to hold us accountable, that they're a hater. No, if you want better for me, I want better for me. And I think it really comes back to the person. You have to have a mentorship. What are you willing to sacrifice to make sure that you can gain all the knowledge that you can, to be a better person, to be, better at what you're doing? And so I think Pastor Miller covered all bases, but pride is it's a killer. It'll stop you for sure.
Exactly right. And again, I'll say this, and then we'll come back to you, Lady Hickman, and then Pastor Miller will give you final remarks and benediction. But here's what I want to say specifically about Kobe. Kobe was a phenomenon. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew. And I watched his video that he did with Patrick Bet-David, our CEO. And I just remember he was just his understanding. Even when he was playing the AAU ball, he said, when I went and played, he was like, my weak hand was my left hand. So I'd go and play with my left hand playing in the AAU. And I just thought that was crazy, because he said the thing was, I used that as an opportunity to get better. And I just thought that was so groundbreaking, because most people showcase their strengths in those AAU situations. He was all about getting better and showing that he was better. Now, and that goes into his whole not negotiating with himself. So the last thing I'll say is this. Distractions are everywhere. And I think we've kind of talked about that today. And if you allow a distraction to steal your dream, then that's on you. It's almost like you didn't have enough skin in the game. And that's why it's okay for you to quit, because you didn't have enough skin in the game. You didn't have enough invested in the dreams that you have and bettering the life of your family. And I think if we stay right there to the point that both of you made about not being able to humble themselves to get better, I think that's where we are now. I think we're at a time now where people get offended that you have to teach them something. People feel like I can go to YouTube University and learn all I need to learn and I'm good. And while, you can learn a whole lot of stuff on YouTube, but there's some stuff that you just cannot learn, that you can learn from a mentor. And my wife and I were on a call with the lady earlier today. Met with the lady this week and did a recruiting interview with her. And her thing was, I want to be here because I want to be in business, but I don't know how to do it myself. I've been doing this and I've been doing that, but I just need to find somewhere where somebody can teach me how to be an entrepreneur. And that just kind of blew me back, because at the end of the day, when you are focused on building your dreams, when you're focused on building your goals, when you're focused on legacy, you realize the greatest legacy is people. And if you can't help build people, then basically everything you're doing, even if you do get the stuff, it doesn't matter, because there's nobody to remember you when you're gone. When Kobe passed, and it's the last thing I'll say, so get ready, Lady Hickman. When he passed, watch this, even before he passed, when he retired, his last few games, the last time he played at every arena, the opposing team took a 24-second violation for him. 24 seconds. Meaning they literally gave the ball up back to him to honor his contribution. And I'm saying that to say that's because he didn't become distracted. And every one of us, myself included, I bought into the Mamba mentality. I bought into it. I have some way to go. I ain't gonna sit here and act like I'm on it all the time, because I'm not. But what I'm saying is that I bought into that Mamba mentality. And we have to understand is each one of us has the opportunity to show forth and allow people to buy into you. But if you won't buy into you, you can't get mad when nobody else does. All right. All right, Lady Hickman, I'll give it to you, and then we'll give it to Pastor Miller as we get ready to leave for the day.
So as it pertains to people buying you, I think that you have to first deal with the man in the mirror.
Okay.
You talked about how Kobe used his left hand because it was his weaker hand. Well, we all have some weak areas that's within self that we have to deal with in order for us to perfect, our craft, our lifestyle, whatever it is. We have to be able to be honest with ourselves and identify those things. I know for me, one of my things is speaking out publicly. I don't like speaking out publicly, but I'm working on it. And so you have to be willing to shape those things so that you can get the best version of you. And the last thing I would say is, if you're the smartest person in your group, you need a new group.
That's right.
Because you need somebody that you can glean from and grow from. And that's all I have.
Absolutely. Well, since we've done quite a few Kobe illustrations, I'll be brief though. Kobe did an interview while they were up in the playoffs, and he didn't have a smile on his face. As a matter of fact, he looked upset.
Yep.
And the reporter asked him why he wasn't smiling, and he said, because the job isn't done. And so we have to understand that we have to keep pressing forward until the job is done. And once we achieve one goal, there's always another goal that needs achieving. So even though we can celebrate the small goals that we've achieved, we can't celebrate so long until it becomes a distraction. And the last thing, since I'm giving the benediction, the Bible says that a man who doesn't work shall not eat. So if you want to eat the fruits of the earth while you're here and have all the nice things, then you got to work for it every day.
Exactly right. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for that. So glad to have you on, man. Even more importantly, so glad to be working with you. Everybody, again, he is now a licensed agent working with the Generational Wealth Builder team. He now has about 5 or 6 carriers that he's working with. And we're super excited to have him here. And he has some great plans that he's about to do. So I won't spill the beans. I'll let him spill it. But it won't be long. Within 6 to 9 months, we expect him to have his own office. And we're looking in a general direction. Again, I ain't gonna spill the beans but I sure want to tell it. But we're super excited about having you here with us, about how you invested in yourself, how you saw the vision. Again, you're already an entrepreneur par excellent. And so we're just, I know I am. I'm elated to see what you're going to do here. So tell people how they can reach out to you, man, and get in touch with you.
Well, I can be reached, of course, via Facebook inbox. And I'll put my phone number out there, 901-356-9956. And my email address is legacywealthsolutions93@gmail.com. And that's the name of my business, Legacy Wealth Solutions, where we want to help families escape poverty and experience prosperity.
All right. Y'all heard it there. I told y'all, man, look at here. Get on away from poverty and get on over here to wealth. You know what I'm saying? So again, super excited about it. Super excited about him and everything he's getting ready to do. Well, may the Lord bless each one of you. This has been our show for today. I hope you got as much value as I did. Trust me, I love having some of the best people around that can be with us here on the show to talk to us about the different mindsets. And maybe you say, well, Rod, I didn't get a chance to really share mine. Well, inbox me. We can get you on. Again, if you have something that you want to say or that you feel will be important to be said, again, we want to hear from you. We want to give you that platform. We're not necessarily here to get big names on here. I like talking with people who are building themselves, people who have invested in themselves and said, you know what, I'm going for the gusto. Okay, either way, it's your man Rod Hickman, Generational Wealth Builders, where poverty ends with us. Remember this: knowledge is not power until it is applied. So make sure you're not just sitting there gassing yourself up, but make sure that you're doing all that you can do in order to change your family's financial trajectory. Y'all take care. God bless. Good night.